Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
That's like Wednesday, dude.
You gotta think that over the whole course of the year and a half or whatever 16 years we've been doing this together, that not once have I thought about using that as an opening.
And you're like from New York, so it just like completely makes sense. And I feel like we've even done we've done recordings on Saturday night, and we still never even crossed that bridge. It's amazing.
Well, I haven't watched that show in like 25 years anyway, so
Fair enough.
maybe that's why. But hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Do you want to tell everybody what this is?
This is Rich Swan Appreciation Night.
This is Half Empty Arena Appreciation Night. We'll get to that in a little bit. But this is the TLC 2016 Smackdown Live edition prediction show turbo.
With other stuff.
With other stuff, let's move quickly through the other stuff here. We'll do a little bit of a high or low on the Monday night, the flagship show, the Monday Night Raw show. Do you want to hit me with something you really liked, really didn't like, or reverse order?
I'll hit you with didn't like and then did like.
Okay, that's reverse order. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. I just wanted to clarify for those watching at home.
Geier or lower?
Geier.
I still don't understand what I was trying to do there, but
yeah, I know. So I despise the booking of the women's division on Raw. I really do. Like as a division and as the two top stars, just constantly being the two top stars and like every time it seems like we're gonna go a different direction. Nah, let's just do it again. Let's just do it again.
They got two segments and it was the same match. you know?
let's just keep doing it again. So I just totally despise it. On the other hand, booking aside, the match and especially the finish to the match was fantastic. Mainly the finish. I thought that was great.
Dude, can I say that fanfare aside and ceiling shattered, mold broken, and all that good stuff, that this match was better than Bayley Sasha in Brooklyn?
I disagree with that.
I don't know necessarily. I thoroughly enjoyed this match, and I don't have to pick one or the other. I mean, that's not something I'm doing here.
Yeah, right.
No, I get but that. At the time of Bayley and Sasha, there wasn't anything like that. Since Bayley and Sasha, there's been Bayley Sasha 2, Charlotte Sasha 1, Charlotte Sasha 2, and then, Charlotte Sasha 5. Maybe this is even later than that.
It's gotta be later than that.
I really enjoyed that match because it used a lot of... You want to talk about women booking the women to do stuff just because the men did it? Here it felt natural.
Sure.
It felt legitimate. Everything they did, it wasn't like, well, the guys do it, so now let's let the girls do it. From brawling to the outside to the stuff, ringside and inside and the spot off the announce table, off the stage. I mean, it was all well done. And while I get that you made this point and you didn't bring it up, so I'll make it. And if you want to deny you said it, you can deny you said it.
No, I won't deny I said it because I still stand by it.
Taking heat off of TLC or SmackDown because of booking this as a no DQ Falls Count Anywhere match. Yeah, I don't know if I replied to you exactly, but it was something where I wanted to discuss with you where, is it WWE Raw writers undercutting WWE SmackDown writers, or is it WWE altogether putting this as like a lead-in, as like a tie-in, as like, hey, these girls had a Hell in a Cell match. They had a Falls Count Anywhere match. And now Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss are going to have a tables match. So it's not one versus the other. It's the culmination of the whole division being, hey, like, this is not your lingerie pillow fight type of divas match anymore. And I wonder if there's just like the directive from above that's just like, okay, we're two different brands, but and we've seen this before with other pay-per-view shows too. One show does something special like Hell in a Cell, the other show does something, just before that to kind of seem like it's undercutting, but maybe it's not undercutting. What do you think about that?
No, I get it. I could see that being a mentality, and it's not a bad thing to kind of get people in the right mindset to say, okay, I can see ladies in this role more, and to almost desensitize people to it. So it's not so much, oh man, they're just having the girls, like you said, they're just having the girls do guy spots or whatever. But oh, this is the women's division now. They're brutal. They will destroy each other.
And the crowd was hot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I still feel like, I don't know. So here's something. We haven't always been the biggest Bella fans on this show, and I have come around to be. I'm not following her on social media or anything like that, but I've come around to be a pretty. I don't know how you measure it, but a decent
Bella head.
A Bella head?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't put myself in that camp.
Okay.
But I'm not a mark for Nikki Bella, but I'm a fan. How about that? Okay. That's what I'm trying to say. So I've gotten to where I am an admitted fan of her work, and so on and so forth. So the stuff that has gone around at Comic Cons that she's been a speaker at, like on panels and stuff like that, is that she and several other people, including Paige, had all these ideas for things to do that would possibly, like allegedly, 6 months worth of program that would ultimately end at, or ultimately lead up to, the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match. Well, I'm trying to get to my point, but I'm not getting there fast enough. Anyway, essentially what I'm saying is Nikki seems to have had a, I don't know, she sort of turned the corner from, I don't really want to be known as this model gimmick anymore. I want to actually be the tomboy that I've always been on screen, and I want to beat people up, which we see that in her feud with Carmella, especially last night, which we'll get to in a second. But it's, I say all that to say, it seems like the only people who can sort of make history are the Four Horsewomen. And I get it. They changed a lot of people's opinion of women's wrestling, but it wasn't just them. It was Paige and Emma, and I know Paige is whatever she's doing now, but it was Paige and Emma. It was Natalya. There were more people involved than just the four girls, and I appreciate what those four girls did, but it just seems, going back to what you said, and I have dragged on way too long here. It just seems like this was kind of an undercut to Nikki, and I'm not crying in a pillowcase screaming "Leave Nikki alone," but it seems like no, you're still from that Divas era. We're going to show you the Horsewomen do this best. And yes, Sasha and Charlotte have amazing chemistry. I'm tired of seeing them in a feud, but they have amazing chemistry. And again, that was a fantastic finish to that match, but I still feel like it was sort of undercutting what was already booked in the Nikki Carmella no DQ match coming up this week.
Why does that match get the undercut and not the championship match? That's the tables match that
wasn't booked yet.
Well, it's not booked from people watching it on TV. It's booked from backstage.
I know that, but that's what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking.
No, but I mean,
everything I'm talking about is perceptual, not like not like the. How do I want to say it? Not the writing. It's the perceptual. It's like how it's how it's being presented, and how it's being presented is, oh yeah, well, we're going to do something
So
before they do it.
how does a fan like me, who doesn't pay attention to that social media stuff, watch that match and get that assumption that it's undercutting Nikki Bella just because of the fact that they did Falls Count Anywhere and they're going to have a no DQ match?
Well, I would have been. How about this? If Mick wasn't such a bumbling idiot with his lines, or whatever is going on with him, and I hate to say that because he's done a lot for the business, but if he didn't just struggle through things like I'm doing right now, so I have no room to talk, and it would have just called it a Falls Count Anywhere match from the jump instead of starting with no DQ.
Well, he has to do that because it was a DQ. It was a count out. So he had to start with a no count out because that's how it ended.
No countouts is fine. Yeah. I get what
I
you're
mean,
saying,
he's
but
basically taking the result of the match and saying it's been done 100,000 times before. It's not ending like this. We're going to restart it with no count out because that's how it ended. And then we're going to also add the fact that, hey, Charlotte, you're not going to weasel out of it with a disqualification, no disqualification. You know what I mean? So it's like norm, even though like another show is having a similar match. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm arguing with you. I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate here because it shouldn't take away from the fact that I really feel like this was a fantastic match.
Well, and I said that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But like,
and I'm not trying to dog it too much. I just thought initially that that's how it came across as, well, no, the horsewomen need to hit this milestone. Even though it's not like there's never been a no DQ women's match before.
No, and there's the same people in charge. Whether it's not two different companies, it's not.
I know that.
You know, we're not stealing the comp.
That's my point.
Yeah. Well, that's also a point against as well, because I don't see things like that. I mean, if it was like, I don't know, if Nikki Bella was on the same show and she had that match on a pay-per-view and then they just made the match on the show before and made it, 300 times better.
Here's the thing. If they did it last week, it wouldn't have been a big deal because the no DQ wasn't announced then for SmackDown. So if it was sort of a rebuttal to it, I would have been okay.
So you're okay if it's SmackDown doing it to Raw, but not if it's Raw doing it to SmackDown?
No, because it's not. No, that's not what I said. I said if they had already done it, and then SmackDown says, you know what, they did it, we're going to do it too, then that's fine. But now it looks like, hey, they did it, we're going to do it too, even though it was already announced and booked. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see there's a complete difference there? They're like context and the order of things.
Well, the order of things. Well, I mean, I'm just trying to understand. The order of things was SmackDown announced it first.
That's what I said.
Right, but then you said if they didn't announce it and Raw did it, and then SmackDown said, well, we're going to do it too. It's kind of the same thing. SmackDown announced it and Raw said, well, we're going to do it too. So it's the reverse of that situation. In both situations, one company announced the match ahead of time, and the other company.
All right, we can talk about this all night because but you're missing my semantics, like almost intentionally, it seems. So.
No, I'm actually not. I'm just trying to understand. Like, I'm trying to understand. I'm just, bullet points talking.
We'll move on.
Kind of argument and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you hated that, but you liked it. You liked the same match.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
really liked the finish. I thought the finish was, like, anytime.
I didn't expect her to tap, actually. I didn't expect her to win, actually, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I thought something was going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, doing it up the aisle in the middle of the fans, and I thought it was a little quick, but that may be because Charlotte was like, "Holy crap, this actually hurts."
Well, let me put you in between that barrier and see how quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think she's probably like, "This is way different than having actual leverage under me on in the ring." So,
yeah, it just goes to prove that WWE doesn't care about hometowns. So for everybody who just kind of says that,
that's my other hate, but
guaranteed this, guaranteed that, guaranteed this. Oh, they're here. This is going to happen. Well, it's not 100%. Never has been 100%. It's not 50-50, but they sure go out of the way to make it intentionally the other way around and swerve you whether it's despite the talent in the ring or if it's just to prolong the product, which I think that was this case. It was just to enhance the product. I love that picture you sent me, by the way, where it lists all the champions, and it was just rotating back and forth between Charlotte, and that was the only animated part, Charlotte and Sasha. That was pretty fitting.
Like everyone is static, but then it just keeps flipping back and forth between Sasha and Charlotte.
And it really, I mean, like in the history of things, I'm sure something's flipped back and forth a little bit more than they have so far. But to your point of it's only them, it certainly is only them. And then what's going to happen now? Sasha's going to come out on Raw and Charlotte's going to interrupt her. Like, that's just kind of like what it is, right? Unless Nia Jax is just going to come down finally and squash Sasha. And Charlotte's going to do something with Bayley, I guess. I mean, like, it's set up for that.
But it was set up for that before last night. That's what's so annoying. It's just like...
rematch.
All that stuff was there, but nope. Rematch.
Rematch clause. Yeah, well, rematch clause, and now Charlotte has one, so what's to say it's not going to go the other way? How is Charlotte not going to get her rematch? Are they just going to ignore it?
Well, and that was the thing was Mick said, no, this ends tonight, right? And it's kind of like the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens thing, which that kind of did end at Battleground, even though they were in a match like right after that.
They were involved in another match right after.
Yeah, but I don't know that they've had a singles match since then. So to an extent, their feud has been on ice since then. And
it went through Jericho for a second, and then it was done.
And for some reason, the loser of that match is the one who has benefited in every way.
Well, I mean, how many times do we see the loser of a like an IC or US title match feud go on to then feud for the heavyweight championship? You know what I mean? It's so dumb. How about this? Logic. How about this for my? And I agree with you that the Sasha Charlotte match was probably the highlight. It was so well done. Crowd participation in the main event spot. I mean, I really loved it. How about if we're going to speak of women and putting women on an equal pedestal and all that jazz? Why is Lana still referring to Rusev as the only man that can have her? And why is Enzo Amore coming out talking about stuffing her turkey? And then,
I don't know, man.
And then, not only that, and then we do a cutaway to the crowd, and it's 3 8-year-olds cheering. How you doing? After he says that.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. If they want to be crude, that's fine. But I wonder what all those sponsors that they've been being so PG for are going to think about stuff like that. Maybe some of those sponsors have decided to let up on them a little bit with stuff. I don't know. Maybe someone has had a conversation and said, look, we got to turn a corner on this because this sucks. But I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty.
They could do PG.
Pretty obnoxious.
I mean, they could do PG, and PG is entertaining. But it's when you do PG and you introduce this stuff into the mix. And then it's like, well, I mean, like Brock Lesnar can bleed. Why does the other show all the rest of the show have to be PG? Well, Enzo Amore can be sexual and naked. Why does every other, part of the show have to be PG? Right. But it's more about, I guess, the whole not.
You don't know how to get into what you're.
I don't know. No, it's like I'm not trying to be careful. I just don't know the term womanizing. Maybe is the term. Like, why is it okay for the part of the women's division or co-work, women's locker room to be on the even pedestal as hardworking, achieving, independent, and then you have Lana, and she's got to be. What's that?
You remember what I said about 4 horsewomen? Like all the history and all the even footing stuff. It has to revolve around them, but everybody else is just kind of whatever.
On the other side of things, Alexa Bliss and Nikki and Naomi and Natalya, they're holding, and Carmella, they're holding their own on SmackDown as well as being on that same kind of respect us level. They're not doing backstage segments. You know what I mean? It's just that.
Okay, so on Raw.
Yeah, on Raw, or just Lana. Maybe it's still punishment for ruining.
No, it's not just Lana because we haven't seen Emelina yet.
And that's gonna. Well, I mean that whole gimmick is just sexualizing Emma.
Right. 100%.
Did you see what Summer Rae tweeted?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we can just move on from there then.
Yeah, that's messed up.
And it's actually kind of funny, but WWE's main account retweeted it. So again,
What?
yeah, absolutely. And that's how I knew about it. Because that was the story. The story was WWE's main account retweets Summer Rae talking about Lana. And something about cold cuts, and I don't understand.
And extremely sexual.
I think you have to explain to me what that means after we're done, and we'll go into it. Let's talk about NXT here a little bit. Remember last week when I said that, and this actually leads up to the next segment as well. Remember when I said I didn't want to see NXT taped in front of a live Raw studio audience or SmackDown studio audience?
Sure.
This was taped before SmackDown 2 weeks ago in Ottawa. What we saw tonight on NXT. Now, it wasn't that bad. It was a good show. But man, there were a lot of people just on their hands. And they weren't against the product, which was good. But man, I don't want to say piped in noise a la SmackDown used to be, you know what I mean? But there were chants, but not a lot of people moving, except for maybe when they were doing 10 for Ty Dillinger or something. What did you feel about the crowd atmosphere watching NXT today?
All right, so I'm going to say something really weird here.
Let's get weird.
Yeah, let's get weird. You're supposed to chant with me.
Oh, that's the same chant as every other chant. I was told never to do that by somebody.
It's not the same chant. It would be, let's get weird. Clap, 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 clap. Anyway. But I have gotten to the point, because I've seen so many people who are like complaining about specific fans. Why is that guy always there in the same seat all the time? And I'm just getting to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna focus on the match.
I do too.
So I like it when the fans are there with it, but I've gotten to the point, and I'm not trying to act like some enlightened a-hole or anything like that, but I've gotten to the point where I just focus on the match and appreciate the match for what it is. And I will sometimes, and typically I do my commentary out loud, but typically I'll be like, all right, they're letting the crowd affect them instead of just doing, which I get that's what you have to, you're supposed to act based on what's going on, even though things are pretty heavily scripted, even matches. So it's, so I get how the crowd can affect the guys, but I see guys put on amazing matches, and this leads into the next segment too.
Yes.
There's a way that you can just keep doing what you're doing and stop and not let the crowd affect you and not try to pander to the crowd, but just do what you know works, and people will meet you there. It will happen. It does happen. In today's wrestling climate, even with the hyper sanitized, hyper high production value WWE product, it absolutely does still happen. We'll get to it in a second. But anyway, so I kind of ignore the crowd. If they're hot, I'm excited about that. If they're not, I don't really focus on it. But I get why people do, because that's important. I mean, it's an important part of the show. So
I have a history of being not a part of independent wrestling, but certainly like not a fan, like somewhere like a mark in between. You know what I mean? So I have friends and people that have wrestled and have moved on and gone to other companies and other countries. And I've seen things from the locker room side as well. I notice it only because of it's unfair, kind of in a way. It's unfair to the people if you want to talk about like, you know, crowd reactions to them and then people just saying they don't have it because of that. At the same point, it goes along with my long-standing point of how NXT and the WWE main roster universe, they don't share the same fan base. They overlap a little bit, and maybe a lot more than I think, or maybe not as much as other people who might argue against me think. Maybe somewhere in the middle, but they don't overlap. They're not eclipsed. It's not the sun, moon over the sun kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we see that, and we saw that in NXT, where like, Dillinger makes a comeback against Samoa Joe, and the crowd is, giving him the Canadian homeboy treatment. But then, like, only like four.
That's about it.
Yeah, and only like 4 people in like the visible first 5 rows or whatever are even clapping. And I'm just like, man, this was my point from last week, and I didn't know they taped it, and like it just seems like I knew they taped it, but I didn't know they taped it. I actually thought they were at Full Sail between the Nicole Matthews and Asuka match for some reason, and I'm like, oh man, they redid the video wall. That's pretty cool. And just oblivious to the fact that they weren't. And then they were like, let's go backstage with Samoa Joe, and he's in front of an Ottawa Senator sign, and I'm like, they taped this the other week. Who are they trying to fool? Telling us there's going to be a match tonight. They're in Ottawa, and then they're in Orlando. What's going? Then I realized, oh, wait a second. We are in Ottawa.
Yeah, it's all
in Ottawa. I don't know. Like, I was so happy that Nicole Matthews was there that I just blanked out. I guess, like, not recognizing the crowd, like you were saying, like just tuning it. Well, I was tuning it out, and then all of a sudden I knew it was a SmackDown crowd, and I'm like paying attention. I'm like, all right. Well, this is interesting because I come
confirmation bias.
Yeah, well, I mean, I come from the journalism schooling, the TV, radio, film production side of things, and I'm just like, all right, well, I have to at least compare and contrast this, and
Sure.
I was happy that there weren't boos, there weren't chants for other wrestlers, that there was reaction where reaction needed to be. But then at the other part of me was like, well, maybe I would have liked to seen that match in Full Sail. And just have the crowd be hot for Nikki Storm charging the ring, or, Ty Dillinger making the comeback. But again, they weren't jeering.
Well, and it's also, you're right. And it's also, it seemed that was Ty's last match. It came across that Ty's done in NXT based on what he said, and then the actual, actually getting the walkout,
the Lou Gehrig farewell, hand up in the air kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
which is a weird. Which, to your point, not doing that at home, that's kind of tough.
Not doing that on the taping after or before Takeover Toronto, because that was an NXT crowd. They bought tickets for NXT.
Hot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, where does he go?
I don't know. I mean,
does he just disappear for a while in the NXT background and then just make this last ditch effort comeback, or did he already do that?
I feel like that's what this was tonight. I thought this was, because I mean I should have written down what he said. By the way, how he set up the match was hilarious.
Oh yeah, I may have 10 reasons, but I only need one.
You're only going to need one.
The slaps were pretty good tonight.
Yeah,
they were all over the place too.
There's been a lot of crunchy this week, honestly. But he said something to the effect of, if I can't do this, then
I've been here a long time, and I've been this close for this close this many times, and if I can't beat Joe tonight, then
something to that
maybe
effect.
I don't have it anymore, or something like that,
Yeah, so it sounds like, he says maybe I don't belong.
I don't belong.
Maybe I shouldn't even be here, or something like that. And so,
well,
that sounds like a farewell.
Well, here's where I was going with this. In case you answered one different way, we just talked about Kevin Owens losing the feud to Sami Zayn, then going on and win the title. Ty Dillinger can't win a match in NXT; he gets promoted to SmackDown. So like that's why I'm like, where does he? Where did they leave him off here? In terms of not marketability, but like realism, can't win in NXT, debuting on SmackDown to challenge the Miz for the IC title. Well, how does that make sense?
It's completely illogical booking overall, but I don't know. Maybe man, it'd be nice if there was an actual arc to it, and he's just in the crowd somewhere.
How about he just wears a lucha mask and is like El Hijo de Diez, and then he just that'd be awesome. Dodecagon Jr.
That would. I wouldn't mind.
I don't think Dodecagon is 10. Isn't that 12? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. No, if it's Deca, it's 10. I wouldn't mind someone doing a going under the hood type gimmick. And you know, if you can get over the perfect 10, I bet you could get over going a going under the hood gimmick. So yeah,
And everyone realizes, they've done that. Like, everyone realizes it's him, but it's not. Grado did that in TNA. He just spelled his name backwards, Odark. And it was actually pretty funny because he had that partner, the guy from India. And the running joke is Odark owes the guy $20. And then Grado's like, I don't know where he is, man. He's like, get my $20 back from him. Like, his own partner didn't even know it was him. So it was pretty funny when they do that. NXT, anything? The send off was good, but was there anything else on the show that you really loved? I like how we don't do what did you hate about the show on NXT. We always do what do you love about NXT.
There's really
drink the Kool-Aid, man.
There wasn't much to hate. I got to be honest. This week, I really liked everything they did, and I like where Sanity's going. I like Rabid Nikki Cross. I can't wait to see her in the ring.
Nikki Cross is so damn good.
Yeah, she really is. I can't wait to see them stick her on an opponent, an actual opponent.
Well, they did that one time, and she like started slapping her face for no reason. Remember? We were just like, oh, okay. I don't know if she's going to be tremendous in the ring, but she's the Rabid dog, and it's so cool to have that spot, to see her in that spot, man. It's so awesome. Nicole Matthews too, and this is going to tie into the women's tournament, I think. Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of one-shot Santana Garrett, Evie type of people, like Heidi Lovelace come in, or I hope they bring in veterans. I hope they suit up Sarah Del Rey.
Man, that'd be crazy.
Sarah Stock, Dark Angel. Cheerleader Melissa would be cool. Mercedes Martinez, but I think they're going to focus on the younger, never have been signed anywhere before kind of people and then maybe bring in one or two, like, they brought in Tajiri like and Kota. Kendrick. Like who? Like Kota Ibushi?
Kota Ibushi, yeah.
He would look good in the women's tournament. Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Oh, how they brought him into the men's, the cruiserweight.
Yeah, I mean, like, having a couple of huge names.
Oh, yeah.
That they have no intention, that, sure, they're trying to get them to sign, but they have no expectation that they're going to sign, but, they can ink a multi-match deal for them to show up and essentially make a celebrity appearance in WWE, which is the craziest thing to think of. That's even possible, and that their ego isn't too big for it anymore. It's like almost territory. It's cool.
I would have to look at a Japanese women's roster, Stardom and all them, and just see like who the big women wrestlers are, because if you're an NXT fan in Full Sail especially, you're probably up to date on indies and Ring of Honor and stuff like that, so you knew who Nakamura was, and you knew who the TNA guys were, and you knew who Ibushi was, and Cedric Alexander, and pretty much most of the guys in the Cruiserweight tournament. But for the women, I don't know if people would know who the women are outside the United States, who are the best women's wrestlers in Japan. They might bring them over in Shimmer, because Shimmer brings a lot of Japanese women over now. So I have to get a little bit more educated on that. I'm very excited for it. Hey, one question for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 205 Live. Is that a good question? That was a good question.
That was the wrong question.
That wasn't even a question.
How did you botch that setup?
I didn't. That wasn't my question. But I said let's talk about 205 Live because for some reason I don't know.
So what's your question?
My question is, how does it feel to have the Global Force Wrestling Tag Team Champions on the WWE payroll?
I'm just waiting for them to turn heel for Jarrett's invasion angle. That's what I'm waiting for.
If Jarrett has and we're talking about the Bollywood Boys, by the way. They are, as far as I know, the GWF, Global Force Wrestling Tag Team Champions. The women's champion, Christina Von Eerie, did defend her title in Phoenix Pro Wrestling, PPW. Shout out to Joshie D, who runs that company over in Phoenix. Actually, I don't even think it's in Phoenix. I think it's in California. But he used her. He booked her. So the title was defended recently. And the Next Gen title, the title that was held by owner Sanjay Dutt. Do you know what happened to that title, Duke?
I believe it now belongs to the grandson of a plumber.
Mario Jr.?
The star who left them all in the dust.
Luigi. I don't know many plumbers.
Cody Rhodes.
Oh, Cody Rhodes. Okay. So we did have we have two champions that aren't defending the title. We have one champion that is defending the title on the independent booking, and then we have a title that changed hands for a company that I'm not even sure what they are, Duke.
Yeah,
they're my
eFed. As far as everyone knows, they're a gold scam at this point.
That was the I think that was an initial rumor as well, that it just kind of gained steam because of the backers, right? The shady backers that they have.
No, go to their website.
Oh, go to the website. Okay, all right. All right.
The actual official website. There's a video promoting Global Force Gold and buying gold. I don't know what it's about. It's weird.
That's awesome. So we got on this tangent because we were talking about the Bollywood boys. They are signed to WWE. I believe they're signed to WWE contracts. I think everybody, which was very nice about the show, is where they introduced everybody. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like that everyone's getting like actual specific vignettes, and
they're divining heel and face too.
Yeah, and it's back to your point, the whole actually introducing them. See, that's how it should have been on Raw. Like, literally, they were announced. I'm gonna get back on my "what is Mick Foley doing" bandwagon here, or soapbox, but Mick Foley comes out with a crumbled up piece of paper that just looks like something he pulled out of his dirty sacco, and says a couple of words about whoever was coming out that night. That was the introduction of the cruiserweights on Raw.
Yep.
And then 205 Live, we have an actual introduction of each of the competitors, and they even talk about they even went so far. This was amazing, actually. It's such a subtle brilliance to it, to put Rich Swann all the way on one side and announce him first, and put Brian Kendrick all the way on the other side and announce him last. That was an amazing detail. Amazing detail.
No, yeah, and the whole, like, we knew. I'm not going to do the we knew thing after saying that Charlotte lost in Charlotte before, but we kind of knew that Rich Swann was going to win the title, because it's an initial show, it's a debut show, and you got to generate that buzz of anything can happen. So I'm not really upset about that. Again, I kind of feel like, man, taping this after SmackDown, or not taping it, but airing it live after SmackDown, the live portion will keep people in the seats. I heard that people weren't in the seats, though, Duke. What did you hear about that?
Well, yeah, a lot of people left because people came into the show. But when most people bought their tickets for that show, okay, I have tickets for a WWE show that's coming to Atlanta for the first time in my life. Yes, I'm a wrestling fan, but keep in mind, I just really got back into wrestling about a year and a half ago. So I've missed tickets every time they've come to Atlanta, and I could have gone there and probably gotten some or gotten in the door some way somehow, but I wanted to. I don't know. Anyway, I've got tickets. I've had tickets since the beginning of November. So if between now and December 29th, or from when I got the tickets, so beginning of November to December 29th, all of a sudden they decide to start adding another show at the end of what I'm planning to go to. Let's say I'm a guy bringing his 10-year-old son, which I don't have a 10-year-old son, so that'd be weird. But just pretend I'm that guy, and we plan to be there till 10 o'clock. We're not staying till 11 just because WWE decided to add new content. And so just from a practical standpoint, yeah, you can be excited about it, and even your kids can be begging you to stay, but they got school the next night. They're already out late. Wrestling is ultimately for kids. As much as we want it to be all about smarts, so that only like 150,000 people worldwide actually watch wrestling. As much as we want it to be all about that, wrestling is made for kids and made to be enjoyed by kids, especially cruiserweights. But yeah, announcing it in the past 2 weeks. So I'm dragging on, but you get the point. Like, people weren't planning to stay till 11 o'clock going into this show, even after they announced 205 Live 2 weeks ago.
Was Superstars taped before or after, normally?
Before.
Okay.
Yeah. So no one was, both of those shows are before Main Event and Superstars. So no one's expecting to stay later going into the thing. And there's plenty of people who probably, like, there's plenty of people in the building who probably are just going to a WWE event to go to a WWE event. They don't follow SmackDown. They don't follow Raw. They certainly don't follow other random shows that are being added to the network only.
They're the guy that comes over for a major pay-per-view and goes, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Hey, remember when The Rock and Stone Cold were around? That was good, right?
Yeah. There's plenty of those people. That's part of your casual audience. I don't know what percentage, but that's part of your casual audience. So anyway, I just say all that to say there was a lot of people who walked in the building and they weren't planning to stay past 10. And if they found out 2 weeks ago or anytime within the past 2 weeks, or they found out last night that there was going to be another hour of show, it being a new division that promises to be really exciting and there being entire doesn't mean jack squat. They didn't plan to stay there past 10. So, yeah. Especially, again, going back to the kids thing, on a school night where you've got the kids out till 10 already, so they're going to be getting to bed late, keeping them there till 11, so they're getting to bed, between 11 and midnight at some point. Yeah, it's just, it's a non-starter for a lot of people. And I speak as someone with a child who, if I was in the same situation, I would say, man, I really want to stay, but there's no way. So
we have to give it a few weeks here to materialize to see if people say or if there are more reports. Now, what I'm concerned about is the copycat kind of club where it's like, well, not to say it's trendy to walk out, but it's just like, now people are just planning never to stay for it because,
Sure.
It doesn't seem like in sport. By the way, I'm on globalforcewrestling.com. And this is a fun website, man. It's a fun website. It reminds me of a website that I did when I was in community college in 97. It's updated just as well. Brian Myers, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa are all listed as rostered Global Force Wrestling wrestlers, as well as Gallows and Anderson. They're listed as being wrestlers. It's pretty funny. It's comical, but I don't understand what this company is. We got to do a whole special about that one time. Just identify the identity.
We really don't.
We do. No, we do.
We were going to originally. We were going to talk about them, but there was nothing to talk about.
They did the TV tapings, and then I don't
weird thing.
Know what they have. Actually, the gold thing was really small on the bottom, like an advertisement.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't really all over the place. It was just like the very far bottom banner, and
it looks. If you click on it, it takes you to a special page for it.
globalforcegold.info, and just cheap plug.
You're
More
welcome.
people are going, hey, listen, as many people listening to us as is going to click that link.
Sponsor.
Yeah. All right. So in the bubble, I kind of liked 205. I really wish they didn't do cruiserweights on Raw and then this special the next day. I really wanted it to have its own NXT feel. You know what I mean? Maybe even be taped before or at the same NXT tapings. Again, that goes back to it just goes back to the indie feel of a hot crowd for me when I see wrestlers like this. I don't need that for Cena, or AJ, or Ambrose, which you'd be talking about in 2 seconds. But for wrestlers like this, cutting their teeth on the main stage for the first time, I'd love to see it in that sort of atmosphere and not be like a potential subject of criticism. And that's what I hate for the locker room and stuff like that. Who do we see defeating Swan? Are we gonna hotshot this right back to Kendrick on Raw?
Oh man, please don't do Sasha Charlotte with the cruiserweights too.
Well, they're setting up Kendrick versus TJ. It looks like for the title, and now Rich Swann won it. So maybe some sort of 3-way match eventually, or
I'm not sure what they'll do. I think the
first time ever.
Stop it. I think the idea.
Title.
Stop. I think the idea. Stop. I think the idea with Rich Swann is to introduce some of the guys that we haven't seen, because you've got this, new challenger approaches type gimmick, which I know that totally fits TJP with the whole video game thing. God. Yeah, I just wanted to do that. I wanted to hear you just completely grimace verbally.
It's so bad.
But anyway. But I think that's where we're going with this, because obviously you've got Gulak and Nice who are in this weird tag team thing going on, and so we'll probably keep seeing them as a tag team for a little while until they finally turn on each other
with no titles.
Yeah, for now, but they're their own show, so you can have them.
Yeah, I mean. Do you want to see them their own show, or do you want to see them still a combination of Raw and their own show?
I'd rather it just be its own show.
Yeah.
I think that's and maybe they could make it a quick little story arc where the cruiserweights want to be free from Raw, and so they fight.
they walk out.
They fight to leave Raw.
They walk out.
Maybe like they all have to fight Big Show.
Jack Gallagher leads a walkout out the back door because he's sick of Stephanie McMahon's crap, and then everyone just follows. Oh God, that'd be so good. All right, let's Jack
talk. Gallagher is amazing.
Oh, he's so good.
Oh, Jackie boy. I made my wife watch that match tonight, and she was thoroughly sports entertained.
Oh yeah, I think my mom.
My wife doesn't watch wrestling; she doesn't enjoy it, but she was thoroughly sports entertained.
Yeah, I was watching with my dad, and my mom was in the room, and we were laughing our ass off because he was just his mannerisms and everything after that. Oh, so good.
He's great.
Yeah. All right, let's.
Rich Swann is fantastic.
He is.
I could watch him wrestle all night long.
Yeah. Okay, I got that. I can't handle it, but I got it.
There you go.
All right, let's get into TLC, and then some of these we can
talk about Austin Aries and how great he was.
Oh my God, was Austin Aries so good when he was like talking to about the Bollywood boys, and he's like, which one was
racism is back on commentary.
Oh God, it was so good. I hope he doesn't get in. Which one's Herb and which one's Derp? Which one's Herp and which one's Derp? And then he said they slept in single twin bunk beds until they were 34. Oh my God, that was so good.
22, but he also said
it doesn't matter. 34, they probably still doing it.
Yeah, I just watched it again, so it's fresh in my mind. But he also did the thing about they're excited about running water. That was messed up.
Aries is so good, man. Oh God. All right.
And hold up, one more thing on Aries. He called a shot at the beginning. He essentially said he was staying there to go for the Cruiserweight Championship at the beginning of the show. So
he's the greatest man that ever lived. I mean, why not?
I know, but it's just like, is this really happening? Because if you need star power on this show, you got it. I know that's not, I'm sure that's not where a lot of Austin Aries fans want to see him. They want to see him on the big shows and stuff like that. But, well, sorry, I said big show. I just had to do that.
I'm looking at a picture which looks like there's 9 guys on the roster. How about we make it 10?
He's not under 205.
Who, Dillinger?
Yeah, he's like 220.
All right. Well, we can always fake it if we can fake it. People are so tall and overly exaggerated on their weight. Speaking of weight, let's talk about TLC.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's get into this. I'm gonna just random order here. Nikki versus Carmella. Okay. What is this? No DQ match? What do you want to call this?
What it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Is it technically called No DQ? I didn't know if it had some fancy name.
No, it was just No DQ.
Okay. So who goes over here? Because I don't know. I mean, I know, but what do you think?
I'm not sure if this is the. I don't know if Nikki finally wins here, especially since she beat the ever living crap out of Carmella pretty much for a shoot last night.
Black eye and welts and all, unless that
Yeah.
was a shoot on social media. Or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, unless that was a work on social
Work.
media.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was yeah, she looked like actually swollen up. So that's and I would imagine they're both of the not opinion, but I would imagine they're both like, hit me, make it real, let's do this. You know, if we're gonna have a no DQ match, let's let's make it, let's bleed. They probably want to make each other bleed, and and yeah, so yeah, I really think they want to make a big deal or make this match like something to remember, and I'm excited for them. You know, for Carmella to have come as far as she's come in such a short period of time, and then for Nikki to be really, I mean, she really has become sort of a hoss of the women's division, and she's always said how she's, you know, she outside the ring, she always talks about how much of a tomboy she is, and you're getting to see that more, where she just like, she really wants to scrap with people and do, you know, do interesting, fun things. So I don't know. I don't know that it's time for Nikki to win yet. I don't know that it is.
The
And
women,
especially with Carmella being the one on the losing end of the most recent thing, it's typically you get the opposite at the pay-per-view.
the women need a strong, dominant, physically superior cut in this division, because everyone's like, Alexa's small, Carmella's small, but everyone else is generically similar. Nikki Bella has the physique to be that Wonder Woman. And I think if
Fair
there
enough.
was ever going to be a point in time where she's now going to be like on the forefront of the division again, I think now's the time. Let her not destroy Carmella, but handle Carmella to the point where, you know, you want to talk about Brie mode. How about Nikki mode? And now we have Nikki Bella being the John Cena of the division. Strong, athletic, gifted, always winning. And then she doesn't have to always win to the title next month, but she can always win up until, you know, she gets that shot, whether it's against Becky or whoever would have the title at that point in time. I think Becky versus Nikki, face versus face, would be a great WrestleMania match. If
I
they
don't
can,
disagree with that.
yeah, if they can prolong that, you know, it's, you know, Hogan Warrior. You face, like, it's not on that level, but you've had face versus face for the title matches before. I think
It's not on that level in two different ways. sorry to interrupt, but it's not on that level in star power necessarily yet, but it's also not on that level in just crappy match. It has the potential to be
crappy
an
match
actual good match.
that could sell out a 90,000 seat arena alone just based on that crappy match. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's what I said. It doesn't have that star power.
I think it starts here. I think Nikki Bella's road to 2017 dominance starts here through Carmella, and we'll see where it goes through Royal Rumble. She may not have a match. The women may not have a match on SmackDown at Royal Rumble, but she wins here, and then we'll see what happens. Do they have I don't even know if they have Elimination Chamber. I don't know if it was even decided.
Yeah, it was just announced that it's coming back. So
well, I knew it was coming back.
I don't know who. Oh, like which brand has it?
Which brand has it? Because last February, Fastlane is February, right?
Yeah. So
okay, so one has Fastlane, one has Elimination Chamber. I think I don't know who's who, but whatever it is, I think Nikki wins here, continues on TV, looking strong, and move on. By the way, there's only 6 possible combinations of matches you can have between women, or 9 combinations you can have between women if you stick to heel and face on SmackDown. So there's gonna be either a lot of feuds that are gonna be stale because they have to do that to keep other feuds fresh, or they're just gonna mix it up so much that you're gonna see every combination of every woman, and And I say that, and I think about it, and Raw really has the same problem, and it's more so because it's only two women mixing.
There's only two.
Yeah, there's only two.
There's only two women that exist on Raw.
There seems like it seems like it doesn't
big
bother me on Raw for some reason, but SmackDown's a problem. So I'll go Nikki. You don't necessarily know because
I'm picking Carmella. So
person who gets beat up normally goes over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the tag teams here. The Beauty and the Man Beast defend against a new Wyatt family, Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Fresh off a win, so Bray Wyatt has a 1 win in a row streak on pay-per-view. Actually, 2 wins in a row, right? I have to go look that up. Are we changing titles right now?
I think we are. Like, I mean,
yeah.
Seriously, Rhino and Heath have just kind of been on TV eating crackers. That's literally what they've been doing on SmackDown. And this year of the Wyatts idea that was presented on Talking Smack a month back is
on GnWC 3 months back.
Yeah, true enough. But it's seemingly coming to fruition. Like and I can't believe it's hard to imagine, but it's hard to like grasp that they're actually doing this. But holy crap! And man, I saw someone say this last night, and I'm like, they got a point. They said, "How do you get someone over? Team them with Randy Orton."
I said it.
I mean, come on.
I said it. You didn't disagree.
Right.
Let him win. Let him be the monster he is. Let this faction be something it needed to be. Let's add a member or two. We added Randy Orton. I mean, Hall of Famer. More. We're one EC deuce away from maybe not being a Hall of Famer in a backstage bag, but we don't need to talk about that. But here it is. Let's lose a little bit to then dominate 2017. Let's start with the tag team titles. Then
no one can get over him.
Luke Harper then defeats Ziggler a day after Ziggler wins the title back from The Miz, and he has the Intercontinental title. And now Bray wants to go for the heavyweight title, and then him and Orton clash heads because they both want the title, and then it blows up again, February 10th. But still, let's plant this seed now. Give them the belts. And see what happens. The downside here is we've already. I don't even know how to do this as far as a metaphor or an analogy, but we have this American Alpha team, and we talked about this last week with the revival. Like, we just expected American Alpha to be the team, and they are the team. But every single chance that WWE has to showcase American Alpha, they literally chop block them away. Like, they just cut out their legs. And that's to build for a greater future, I'm sure. But man, was that match good on SmackDown. Did you enjoy that match?
Oh man, it was so good. And I love the idea that Harper comes out ahead of time. Just going with I'll get back to the actual match in a second, but the story of it, Harper comes out, loses to Kane, and he's essentially a disappointment to the family. But then he does vintage A. Lamau from Luke Orton, from Luke Harper, and the idea with he and Randy is that they're competing for Bray's affection, because Randy gets the RKO on Chad Gable to prevent him from stopping the Sister Abigail, and
Harper pulls,
well, or whatever happened. Yeah. So
no, you said it right.
Yeah, Orton hits the RKO on Chad Gable. Harper pulls Bray out of the way of the spear from Jason Jordan, which sets up the Sister Abigail. So essentially they're vying, like they're protecting Bray, but it's sort of like they're vying for his affection to show that, they're the true family member or whatever.
I really wish they would just let them be a team. Let them be dominant monsters and not plant that seed a week into the.
No, I get it.
Just, cohesive unit. They're all there for the greater good.
I still like that once again, this is a theme with SmackDown. The story carries through the whole show. they have their promo,
Mm-hmm.
and then that leads to, all right, now you go take care of Kane and make sure you send him back to hell. And he doesn't get the job done, but then he still shows up to help and is a vital part of them moving on to their next challenge, or the next thing to conquer. So it's this interesting dichotomy of you're failing for yourself, but you're succeeding for the family. So how can we, yes, it's creating dissension, but how can we discount that, because you're still succeeding for the family? So yeah,
So,
it's a cool story, but the match was fantastic,
and
great.
we both think that the Wyatt family are going to take this title and run with it. And I like the fact that same thing with the match, and what probably will then lead up to American Alpha defeating the Wyatt family, or the Wyatt family imploded and letting somebody defeat them during that match. I love the whole like legitimate tag team versus two superstars kind of
Yeah.
thing, like Edge and Orton versus the Killer Bee. I can't really give a realistic analogy, but we've had this in WWE in like
Well,
the
it's
early
Team Hell No
2000s.
versus the Shield.
Yeah, and early
Hell No
2000s there was a lot of mid 2000s there was a lot of mixed tag, because they didn't really have a tag team division, but they had some tag teams. So you had like Cena and somebody, and then like Jericho and Miz and the Big Show, whatever. So it was I like that part of the tag team division. I don't like the fact that they have like 8 tag teams and then they use none of them. And then they created Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt on top of that. But I don't know. There's spot to be filled in house shows and stuff like
And
that. So
you can't have everything.
no, but hey, listen to this. There's not going to be any more superstars. So does that? I wonder if that scares anybody in the locker room, because now you're not taping superstars, so you don't need talent available for superstars, and if they're not used on SmackDown, I wonder if people are going to start getting reallocated, or if there's going to be a cuts on the way. Because
Yeah,
that's
that is a good point, because if you're not on TV right now, and there's seemingly no plans for you. Like, this is where, people bring up Cody and Wade Barrett, and them leaving or not renewing their contracts, whatever they did, and people talk about, man, well, like, what, man, I bet they're regretting it now that we've had the brand split, and everybody has had more opportunities to shine on one of the shows. But it's this kind of, like, your point sort of illustrates that they still made the right decision, because if they weren't being used then, and there were no plans for them to be used, the split wasn't necessarily going to change that, because while Heath Slater wasn't really being used that much, he was still on TV from time to time.
yeah.
Even when he wasn't being used before the split, he was being used. He was still on TV from time to time. So it's not that they didn't like the guy or whatever, or he had heat or whatever. It was they just didn't have a spot for him. Well, then they found an amazing spot for him that got him over. But
So what you're basically saying is we're going to wish Jack Swagger well in future endeavors.
I mean, I hate to say that, but he's one of those guys where
He's one of those
he
guys.
shows up.
Yeah.
He shows up, and everybody's like, "Why are you here?"
I mean, you can move.
And he has a short little feud, and then we don't see him at all since then.
I think we can I think that they, and this is something we can talk about a little bit more next week, but I'll just plant the seed right now for you.
Okay.
There's probably people on the roster, because of superstars not being existing anymore and 205 Live existing, that maybe there are some people you can shuffle from SmackDown to Raw from 205 Live. You know what I mean? There could be roles to fill everywhere, keeping the same talent, because there's still the same amount of programming a week and live shows and stuff like that. So we might be seeing more WWE guys, quote unquote, being introduced to the 205 Live setting, And
Totally. I mean, seriously, if they're not doing anything on Raw, why wouldn't you put them on 205 Live?
right, even if they're just in that jobber role, or unless they're going to be like a legitimate contender role to gain some interest, be like, hey, you don't want to stay for 205 Live, but how about like Neville versus Rich Swann,
Yeah,
first time ever,
Exactly.
stuff like that. So we'll talk about more next week. Kind of collaborate your thoughts and do that. Let's talk about
we'll have another episode of 205 Live under our belt at that point too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the women's match, which is now a tables match between Becky Lynch and Alexa. I want you to start on this, but before you start, you said something before in the tag team match. Smackdown continuously telling a story all night. Well, the end of the night had a fantastic finish, and now this is one of the best go-home shows I've ever seen to get me excited for a pay-per-view in a long time. The ending of that, which we'll talk about at the ending of this taping, fittingly, was tremendous. It happened in the middle of the show and continued to the end of the show. But the beginning of the show as well started off hot and and created this stipulation where there was none before, and that is it is a tables match. So what are your thoughts on this match? Are you excited for it?
I'm excited for it. I'm excited that these ladies get to do it. And I know a lot of people are like, well, if Sasha couldn't go through a table, how is Alexa going to go through a table? Especially since since Alexa was the one, standing short at the end of that segment. Not standing tall. You see what I did there?
No, anyway, I see that.
Chinsanity.
Is that what I was supposed to do right there?
That was such a chin possible dream.
Well, it's a Cinderella story.
But so because Alexa was the one standing at the end of that segment, the natural booking, and it's not how it always happens, and they've really messed with us a lot with that type of stuff recently, but which I'm totally open to. But the traditional booking is Becky does go over, and it does make sense for Becky to go over. However, talk about starting off I thought we were starting with the Ambrose Asylum because that had been announced beforehand, and then we start off with that segment, and it's, hate to sound like a cheese ball, straight fire. It was really, really, really good, and then it ends with a cool table spot where Becky went butt first into a table, but hey, guess what? It broke. So
I was kind of. The flop left a little bit to be desired, but the fact was she didn't really know where she was. She just went full backwards.
Right.
And it was like a trust fall. It was a trust fall.
It wasn't like it was right behind her, so she kind of overshot it a little bit, but she did what she needed to do to make sure it broke.
But she didn't turn around, look for it. She didn't, she kind of just went backwards and, hey, this can hit my head or this could hit my ankles, but whatever. Yeah. I'm going to lay out and have it.
I will karate chop this table to make sure it breaks.
Yeah. There are ways you can make Alexa go through the table, and we've talked about this before. I mean, listen.
Yeah, you contribute your weight to and everything. Yeah,
right. So, nice power slam off the rope or whatever.
Sure. Or the Bexplex that was teased, and which could be the end of the match, which, holy crap.
The table in the corner, though.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's probably a safer way of doing it.
Table propped in the corner, Bexplex through it, or just a... well, I don't know if Alexa's going through the table. I don't think like a missed body splash, Becky moving out of the way would even break. She might bounce off the table, but definitely we can do a corner table spot and then and just break it the right way.
I'm excited for them, and I hope it's just a really.
I hope nothing goes wrong.
Yeah, I hope nothing goes wrong. I don't want anyone injured, and I don't want it to be, to come off kind of. I don't want people to come out of it with sort of the same complaints as the Hell in a Cell match with Sasha and Charlotte. Although it was a good match, the table spots did take away from it. But yeah, I really have high hopes for this match, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I've liked the story they've told, and I like how brutal they get with each other. Mm-hmm. And by the way, racism is back in WWE.
Oh God, there was a lot of racism in that promo, but it's okay because it's Irish.
Yeah. As long as you're not making fun of Americans, it's okay. But yeah, there was that, and then what's funny is between how Becky, she took the cheap shot, and then her backstage promo later. I don't know if you saw that, or that was actually in the show, wasn't it?
I believe that was in the show. Yeah.
Yeah, where she actually cussed. Our precious Bex cussed. What?
Heard it,
really?
loved it.
Yeah, heard it, loved it. But yeah. So I don't know if maybe. I mean, she said on a podcast recently that she really, really has ideas and desires to be a heel. So I don't know if maybe we're heading in that direction, but I don't know. We'll see. I like the brutality of it all for sure.
Yeah, it could be fun. I think I remember her as Rebecca Knox being a heelish kind of snobbish character, but it's been so long I don't remember. I might be confusing her with somebody else. But we gonna say Becky here?
Yeah, I'm going Becky.
Yep. Right, I'll go Becky too.
I definitely think it's. While we got the, no pun intended, hot potatoing on one show, I don't think we need. I think you need the opposite of that. That's part of what makes SmackDown compelling. Is a lot of it. You can say bad or good or whatever, but a lot of it is just different from Raw. And the different thing to do is to have your inaugural women's champ continue being your inaugural women's champ for a while.
And number 1 overall pick. And I'm still going to stand by this even in December when the brand split was in what? September? Was it? July?
I think so.
When was it?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I got to look that up. Maybe it was July.
Oh, it was July. It was July.
I'm going to say I said it.
Birthday.
I said it then. I'm going to still stick to my guns now. Becky Lynch will be champion through WrestleMania. And the person who's going to defeat her is not on this current SmackDown Live roster yet. So there you go. Even though I just
Asuka's going to kill her.
No, Nikki Cross or even Charlotte.
Of course you're saying that.
Even Charlotte or Sasha Banks or Bayley.
Defection. Yeah.
Something. They're just not on this roster right now, and I'm just convinced of that. Except if it's Nikki Bella, because I just planted that seed for WrestleMania. So
you did plant that seed.
Let's plant some seeds here with Baron Corbin and Calisto, if you know what I mean.
No, I don't.
I don't either, but it sounds like a T-shirt that Baron Corbin should have. Let's plant some seeds. Baron Corbin written big in the back. It'd be awesome. Chairs match.
Seems like more of a Daniel Bryan thing, but okay, go ahead.
I don't really care about chairs matches.
Nah, they're stupid.
Yeah, I just don't get the allure of them. Might as well just be a no DQ match, but we already have one of those, and it's TLC. So TLC doesn't mean just one tables, ladders, chairs match. It means we could have.
I still like your idea that we change it to tables, ladders, and coffins, and it was and you make it a coffin match. But oh well.
Did I say that? Because that is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Well,
they teased the coffin thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Wyatt's, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you could do that. Could have been their tag matches. They have a coffin, like a tag coffin match where you have to get both people into a coffin.
They missed the ball of Randy Orton turning heel on a Bray versus Kane casket match. RKO into the coffin.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know how you can physically do that, but come on.
Sounds extremely dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know how you can physically. Let's do the where they did the fire around the ring that one time, the Inferno match.
Yeah,
it's an Inferno coffin match, and then we'll just do that.
I don't know if that's more or less dangerous than taking sharp elbows to the head.
I know it's more entertaining than talking about this match.
Sure.
Baron Corbin wins.
All right, Calisto wins. I'll just go the opposite.
That's bullcrap. Change your pick so we agree.
No.
I will hijack this show. Speaking of hijacking the show.
There will definitely be a winner and loser if we tally up the score, which we never do. But
no, we never do. But I always win. No, I think I always lose. I suck. Hey. The Intercontinental title is on the line in a ladder match. It's Charlotte versus Sasha. It's Miz versus Dolph Ziggler. And I wanted to talk about this match a little bit last week, but somebody cut me off before we did.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it was all me.
So here we go. I'm gonna lay this on the line, and this is a little bit of confusing, or it is a little bit of Dean Ambrose misspoke, and it's not the situation. This is a ladder match. Miz versus Ziggler, title in the air, correct?
I think so.
No reason to assume it's not.
No reason to assume it's not.
Because it's a ladder match. AJ versus Ambrose TLC match. Ladder in the air. They got to climb up and get it.
I think he was just suggesting that, and Brian said, maybe.
I think he misspoke, and he just assumed it was a ladder match.
I think that's what he wanted. Now, I think that's what he wanted because I like that better, too, for a TLC match. But if you already have a ladder match, that is kind of weird to have two matches where someone has to climb the ladder.
I think it's just a tables, ladders, and chairs are legal in the match, and you don't have to climb.
Which again is stupid because it's just a no DQ match.
Right, and you can't use a kitchen sink, that gets you disqualified.
Yeah,
because it's not part of the stipulation. All right,
you can only use tables, ladders, and chairs. So if you use the stairs, this isn't that pay-per-view.
No.
This isn't TLC and stairs.
No. So it's not a stair. Remember when they started including stairs matches in the whole show?
Stupid idea.
Can we let's talk about the former or the latter and discuss Miz versus Ziggler first.
Okay.
How do you think this is going to play out, especially with the fact that Miz is still warring with Daniel Bryan after all these months?
I don't know. I think Mike Mizanin made some really good points on Talking Smack this week. You didn't watch Talking Smack?
No, I did not. It was like midnight where I live.
Yeah, fair.
I went home with my kid. They had to sleep.
There you go. Nice callback.
I wrote that one down, actually.
Very good.
No, I didn't. But I don't know how to write.
You're just going to keep interrupting me, aren't you?
I'm putting on chapstick, but go ahead. Medicated.
So on Talking Smack, Brian wasn't there, and The Miz was hosting, but it was not hosted by The Miz. It was hosted by Mike Mizanin.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He hosted as he was The Miz. Like, he was The Miz character, but he made everyone refer to him as Mike the whole time. It was pretty great. Yeah, I don't know. Like Ziggler sort of got in his face about it and said, what, you're gonna have your wife there and she's gonna push over the ladder or whatever. So I almost think because of the way they've been doing their feud that he was calling the shot. Like, he was calling the finish. That Maurice is actually going to push over the ladder and then Miz will climb up and get the championship. That's what it sounded like, because that's kind of what they've been doing. They literally tell you what's going to happen in the match, and then they do it, and you don't realize that they told you what was going to happen in the match. It's kind of ingenious. So I like it. I suspect the Miz retains.
There's two sides to me here.
The frosted side.
Yeah, it's the whole frosted wheat side again, where the fun frosted side of me wants to see Ziggler win. And just because of how many times Ziggler has not won in the past, and when he has won, how quickly they've taken the title from him thereafter. Whether it's the world title, the intercontinental title, the U.S. title, and things like that. So I wanted to see him have the title, and I want to see him have a good run with it. And I think the whole wheat side, the business side of me, really thinks that the Miz should keep it. Because it's like with AJ with the title and Miz with the title, like both of those people bring so much to the title and the story, regardless if they're winning or losing inside the ring. And I know that irks me most of the time when Miz is always taking the pinfall. But AJ's lost 3 matches to James Ellsworth, so I think I can kind of accept it now.
Sure.
They bring so much to the table with the championship and having people chase them that it's really like, it's why SmackDown is good. And it's why Raw is not, because Raw has Roman Reigns with the U.S. title, but he's not defending it. He's fighting for the heavyweight title. You know what I mean? It's like the titles matter. The people who have the titles matter on SmackDown. And it's the personality on Raw that they keep pushing and not the person with the title. In a win or lose effort, I'm just mean like FaceTime, story time, and stuff.
No, I got you.
And stuff like that. So I do want to see that. I think that if Ziggler wins the title, the sexiest man in WWE, Luke Harper, could possibly get the title from him. And again, the Wyatts could hold all the titles, and they can be like a...
That is a good point.
Modern day Shield, they can be referred to as,
so
or whatever.
Maybe that's maybe that's a valid business side too. You know, you were talking about it from the business side
Well,
of Miz, but I mean, Harper is a great villain, and from what I hear, based on hearing Harper in interviews and stuff, Vince really likes him. Like, it's not just all the people, all the in-ring talent who are like, man, this guy is so good, and people don't realize it. Like, Vince really likes him.
he's gotten enough TV time lately.
Yeah,
He's had the IC title before.
yeah.
I think people forget that.
Yeah,
He beat Ambrose for. Did he beat Ambrose for it?
I forget who he beat.
That was Ambrose had the U.S. title. He beat somebody.
No,
he beat Ziggler.
He beat Kofi, didn't he? Did he beat Ziggler?
He might have beat Ziggler for it.
Well, maybe they're going to set up a history repeats itself.
I'm going to look that one up when you talk about the next match, because Ziggler was involved in that and somehow, and it could probably be a little bit of a let's not remind fans that this match and feud has happened before. But on the other hand, if Harper does take it from Ziggler, it's going to be probably very quick, and then Ziggler's going to have another short run to his credit. So I don't want to see that. I'd like to see him sustain it. I'd like to see Miz in the spotlight. I'd like to see Harper, the best looking man in wrestling, have the title. I can't have everything, Duke. So somewhere along the line, I'm going to be upset that two of those three things don't happen. And then Calisto's going to win the IC title, and none of the three things are going to happen.
That would suck.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, so I'm going to pick The Miz, and you're picking Ziggler. Is that what's happening?
I am going to pick Ziggler, yes.
Okay.
By the way, Luke Harper beat Dolph Ziggler on November 17, 2014 on Raw.
Yep.
Dolph Ziggler beat Luke Harper December 14th at TLC.
Interesting.
It was a ladder match. I don't even remember that.
I mean, how interesting would it be for Dolph to win in a ladder match, and then maybe they do the vignettes again like they did originally with Harper calling him out.
I was at TLC in 2012, I think it was. It might have been 11. I forget what it was. I think it was 12. And the main event was Ziggler versus John Cena ladder match with Ziggler's Money in the Bank contract on the line. And that's when AJ Lee turned and pushed Cena off the ladder. And then Ziggler got the briefcase. She was out there with Cena. And then she turned and went with Ziggler at that time. It was quite impressive. So Ziggler has been in a few ladder matches, it seems, especially the Continental ones on Raw. Yeah, so I think Ziggler's going to get this one, but then again, they're going to have a rematch, and I don't want to see a rematch. But I want to see these guys all the time, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's like either way, it kind of works, but.
And again, what do these guys do after this match? Miz loses the title. What does he do? Fights Apollo Crews?
I don't know. Well, it would be what you said. It would be he would go for the world championship.
Well, I mean, there you go. But it has to be. Speaking of, and I'll segue this. It'd have to be the right guy having the world championship, and it's the next month is Royal Rumble. So he can be in the Royal Rumble match for a chance to win the title. Like, I mean, it's like you don't have to do an immediate storyline. You have a month buffer now to kind of set things up. Get you're pissed off you lost the title. You throw your name in the hat for the Royal Rumble. You're the first one to do it on Smackdown side or stuff like that. But there is the main event match that is Ambrose versus AJ Styles. How good was Ambrose Asylum? The result of Ambrose Asylum, and then it leading up to the last segment of the night.
Yeah, it was good. It was great.
Top to bottom, SmackDown was so good, and I've never, and I don't know if you share the same thing, I've never been so hyped about a pay-per-view. I haven't been hyped about a pay-per-view in a long time. But there's never been a go-home show that made me excited for a pay-per-view like this one did.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it is just how brutal it was, and just like everyone, like it was really like we were going into a TLC pay-per-view. I fancy that, right? Like people were potatoing people. I hate to keep coming back to that, but I'm not. That's not a pun. That's not an Irish pun, but you know, you've got Carmella with welts on her head afterward. You've got one of the scariest looking, especially after what he did the first time, one of the scariest looking Styles Clash ever. Even though it's technically safer because someone has more time to make adjustments between, you know, while they're in the air. But crazy spot. And then you have the brawl at the end.
How about Ambrose just breaking character? Kind of breaking character. As soon as that happened, when he was with the ambulance and the EMT and stuff like that, and he stopped being the cornball, I got this sidekick, and he started being like, this guy's hurt, you know, I'm, you know, Johnny whatever his real name is, I don't even know his real name, but, you know, I'm this guy, and I'm going in the ambulance, my buddy's hurt, kind of thing, and then all of a sudden he shows up at the end of the show, and it's just like, hey man, I'm not.
And that's kind of who Ambrose has been on SmackDown. He's been this goofball who, when it's time to turn serious, he gets deadly serious.
But it's always been in an annoying way, though. Remember that whole mind game stuff he did with John Cena, and like, you know, he was kind of like, oh, he turned heel. You know, you people like, oh, he turned heel, and it's like, well, I mean, he's trying to play mind games, and it didn't really fit his cornball, goofy, you know, sarcastic, laid back character. But then this one did. This one, the switch flipped. And it was fitting.
He was Jonathan Good all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's it. I said Johnny Moxley, but you know what I meant.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very, very sort of natural and like realistic. Again, they injected a lot of realism, and then you have that brawl where, I mean, seriously, Ambrose was throwing some real punches, and I'm sure, based on things you've heard. Based on things we've heard AJ said, bring it. Come on. Hit me. Please. Please hit me. Everyone says you can't throw a punch. Throw a punch. So yeah, it's man. And it's so weird because on one hand, I'm complaining about Charlotte and Sasha, even though that's been going on since WrestleMania, so it has been going on longer. But I'm complaining about Charlotte and Sasha, and then you've got all the same feuds since the split on SmackDown, and I'm not complaining about them. I'm complimenting them, but and I hate to backpedal on it, but there is a progression. Like there's a reason people are doing things. It's not just, well, I get my rematch clause, which is kind of what's happening with the ladies on Raw right now. So
I hate that as much as Soul Survivors cashing in my rematch clause. You can't cash in a paragraph on a contract. You know what I mean? It's like it's become a noun, rematch clause, or I hate
verb.
No, verb is cashing in.
Yeah, correct.
Rematch clause is the noun, like it's a briefcase.
Yes, you're right.
So, okay, can I backpedal here a little bit? Just because of interesting things, and then we'll wrap it up with who's going to win, and then what we expect on SmackDown the next day, or whatever. July 20th, 2014. Miz wins a Battle Royal, lastly eliminating Dolph Ziggler to win a vacated Intercontinental title. 35 days later, Dolph Ziggler beats The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam. One day later, Miz beats Dolph Ziggler at Night of Champions. No, that 35 days later, Night of Champions, Miz wins. One day later, Dolph Ziggler beats The Miz on Raw. They've been doing this since 2014. Back and forth with the Intercontinental title. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah. That's probably why they're so good at it now.
And they probably wrestle each other.
Believable now.
And they've probably wrestled each other so many times at house shows. And I tell you that every time they're in like Cleveland, Cleveland, I feel like they wrestle each other and they start a feud anew. And then like it just culminates from there to like title match or whatever. I just feel like it all the time. They're in Cleveland, they fight each other. And then they're fighting for the next 3 months. And it's just so weird that they're doing it again in 2016 after just doing it in 2014. And back then that's where like it was Miz Ziggler, Harper, Ziggler. So like we're gonna have that again.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
2 years later to the dates. It's
hilarious.
It's so weird, and we're not supposed to remember stuff like that. But
Right.
I'm gonna say AJ Styles wins this. I'm gonna say it's a nice match. Ellsworth is gonna be involved somewhere, and maybe you can predict your Ellsworth spot if you want. But probably messing up, I would think. But AJ, I think AJ is gonna win here.
I think he is, and it could very well be that Ellsworth shows up, and right when all the crusty vets, the crusty old vets, the crusty young vets, the crusty old marks, the crusty young marks, right when all those people are like, oh, here we go again, he's gonna mess it up, and Dean's going to lose because of it this time, and something will happen between the two of them because of it at some, whether it be Tuesday night or whatever. So
let me throw out
as well.
Let me throw out a best for business scenario here.
Okay.
Royal Rumble has the Royal Rumble match. I think that Dean Ambrose won't win the title because I think we're going to have a quote-unquote first-time ever Shield reunion in the Survivor Series in the Royal Rumble match.
First time ever.
First time ever. Like, that part of me is there. Like, I really strongly feel that. What if Ambrose wins? Just so they have another major match for Royal Rumble, a rematch. AJ versus Dean Ambrose to kick off the show. AJ wins the title back at Royal Rumble. Ambrose is in the match in the Royal Rumble match later on in the night. They've done that before. I think him and Owens fought last year or the year before, and both of them were in the Rumble match after that.
Yeah, that was when Owens came out like all bandaged up and stuff, dragging his feet.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
So I think we can have a situation.
The only person who actually sold the fact that he had been in a knockdown drag out match before that.
That's right, because it was like a street fight or something. I don't know. It was, or it was just a hard.
The heel was the only person selling that he had been in a brutal match.
So maybe we have a repeat of that where Ambrose wins just because, hey, listen, you got to get people talking. Anything can happen at any time. AJ gets his rematch at Royal Rumble. AJ wins the title, and then Ambrose can be in the Royal Rumble match and maybe do a little first time ever Shield reunion. They powerbomb Goldberg through Lesnar through 2 tables on fire.
First time ever,
or not. Listen.
Yeah, maybe
if you don't like that, that idea, maybe it won't work. But still, I think maybe all the members of the Shield are in the ring when Lesnar and Goldberg kick the ring, and they just toss them out like they're nobodies,
or they just leave. Like, screw this.
By the way, Sasha Banks is going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, first time ever.
First time ever. There's been 3 women. That's by the numbers. Anything else you want to say about this match?
No. I mean, it's been great, and I don't want to belabor the fact that they've told the story. We don't need to tell it,
and we don't need to do
we don't. There's that's what's great about a lot of we've spent a lot of time on SmackDown in this show, but we don't really necessarily need to because they tell the story. And a lot of ours is speculation around it, but they tell the story. We don't have to tell it for them.
And they've done the stuff with James Ellsworth just enough where it's not overdone. According to some people, it is way overdone, but it's just enough to be entertaining. And it went full circle with Ellsworth into the hospital. Maybe Ellsworth's not even there and not even a factor in the match.
Or maybe Ellsworth shows up driving the ambulance, since that's normally
there's where we get into the situation where now is enough. Enough is enough. Now we've played this a little bit too far. You know what I mean?
He's Dean Ambrose light. We get it.
Yeah. But I think that's a point where they'll quote unquote jump the shark. But I think if they just have this match,
he's the lunatic Chinge.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you today? I am the Duke.
You surely had something else, though. Do you got anything else?
No, I have nothing else.
What about Steve Blackman?
What about him? He's on Raw.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you. I'm the Duke. He's the Larry. Bye-bye.